Hello everyone, welcome back to Sportsbook Review's coverage of Euro 2020. I'm your host Martin Green. Today we have three big games to preview. Ukraine versus North Macedonia, Denmark versus Belgium, and the Netherlands taking on Austria in Amsterdam. Delighted to have superstar handicappers George Gamble and Matt Lawrence alongside me to preview the action. We've already got off to a good start today. I was on Russia and under 4.5 goals in that game against Finland, so we're in profit. We're doing well in this tournament. Matt Lawrence, I believe congratulations are in order. It's your birthday today. Many happy returns. He looks like he's frozen, actually. I will come to you, George. How are you finding Euro 2020 so far? Your tips have been very strong on previous videos. Are you having a good time of it?
Yeah, having a great time of it, to be fair. Luckily, as we were mentioning previously, a lot of these games have kind of gone as you'd expect them to go. Obviously, if people that follow my page will know, I tend to focus on cards. But with international tournaments, like in the Euros, they're few and far between at times, and then one game you can get an absolute hatful. It's so inconsistent, so I tend to steer on other angles. But yeah, it's going really well thus far. Really enjoying it, and looking forward to diving into the action today.
Good, glad to hear it. Yeah, it's been a pretty profitable one for me so far. I think the only teams that have really let me down were Poland and Scotland, so they're on the naughty step. But overall, it's been a great tournament, and I think Alex is doing very well too, and Matt's back. Hey, happy birthday, Matt. We can see him, but we can't hear him. There's the technical gremlins. Anyway, we will start analysing the games in just a minute. First, it's your daily reminder. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell. And also head on over to sportsbookreview.com for free content, lots of picks, lots of insight. But if you hit that notification bell, you'll be told every time we're about to film about football, basketball, baseball, UFC, lots of other sports. We've got daily coverage of Euro 2020. We're focusing on every single game, so you won't miss anything if you hit that notification bell and hit the thumbs up to show some appreciation to George and the birthday boy, Matt Lawrence. Not sure if can we hear you now, Matt? Are you here? Are you with us?
I'm ready. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. How are you doing?
All right. We're in here. I'm ready to go. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Good. Are you having a good tournament so far from a betting perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's been pretty profitable thus far. And the first set of fixtures were fantastic, I think. And I think that we're going to have a really good set of angles here for these fixtures here that we're covering.
Okay, great. Thanks. Well, let's get into it. Of the three games, the first one is possibly the least exciting in terms of the overall quality on the pitch. But I think we could be in for a good game. I was very impressed with the way that Ukraine battled back from 2 goals down to make it 2-2 against the Netherlands in their opener. Heartbreaking to concede that late header to Denzel Dumfries, but I think they can be proud of their efforts in Amsterdam, and it bodes well for the next game where they're taking on a North Macedonia team that looked tired in the second half. They conceded 3 against Austria, but they really ran out of steam towards the end of that game. I'm hoping for an entertaining clash here. I think we could see goals. What are you going for, George? What do you like in this one?
So I'm actually going to lean with a cards angle in this one. I think for me, Ukraine are kind of potentially too short. They should get the win, but I don't like the odds on them. They're well odds on to win this game. But obviously, as you mentioned with the game against the Netherlands, what I think was impressive with Ukraine is that they scored those 2 goals despite only generating a 0.7 XG, which is, incredible. It just shows how efficient they are when they get in front of goal. So yeah, obviously much easier game here, you'd think, looking at it. But no, so for me, I'm going with the cards angle. Ukraine have seen at least a card in 12 of their last 15 games. And, against this Macedonia side, yeah, they should be getting the win. But they're going to want to win possession back very, very quickly. And looking at North Macedonia, as you said, they were well beaten by Austria on Sunday. I think my favourite stat from this tournament so far is Goran Pandev, at the age of 37. North Macedonia's youngest ever goal scorer at the European Championships. Absolutely love that stat. But yeah, so that they conceded in terms of XG 2.46 against Austria and conceded 3 goals. So they let in goals quite easily. And for them as well, their last 3 matches on foreign soil have witnessed both teams score and produced over 2.5 goals. I mean, given how kind of resolute this Ukraine side is against sides such as North Macedonia, I don't know if I'll be going for both teams to score on this one. And 3 of the last 4 goals conceded by North Macedonia were scored by substitutes. So that kind of tells you that they're very energetic to begin with, but as the game goes on, they just can't match obviously the teams with better quality. But yeah, in their last 18 games, their opponents have seen at least a card on 16 occasions and 2+ in 12. In fact, it was only Austria that avoided a card in both of their matches previously to the one they just played. But the other reason I like this one is the referee is Fernando Rapellini from Argentina, and he's just an absolute lunatic when it comes to cards. His record this season, he's awarded an average of 6.8 yellow cards per game and awards around 31.4 free kicks per game as well. He's always got his mouth to that whistle, very quick to brandish a card. And I don't think he's going to let anything go here. And also the price. So for Ukraine to see over 1.5 team cards, this is on Unibet. And that was at 1.98 for those of you obviously following it in Europe, and minus 102 in the American odds. And I just thought that was far too high. I'd have that closer to maybe the kind of 1.8 line. So yeah, I think we're getting a little bit of value there. I mean, you can look into the head-to-heads. Obviously, the teams are slightly different, but this has landed in both of the previous competitive head-to-heads, when these two have played each other. And I think it's going to be played at a fast pace. Ukraine undoubtedly have the better quality. Obviously, want to get points on the board because it must have been a kick in the teeth losing that final goal against Holland after battling back to make it 2-2. And this is the easiest game for them to do it. So I do think it will be at a fast pace. But Ukraine do commit some silly fouls at times, and they do pick up needless bookings on occasion, even in friendlies. For example, they picked up 2 bookings against Bahrain recently. A side that they're just on from 2 different planets, like in terms of ability and quality, and they still managed to pick up a couple of cards there. And with the importance of this game for them, and kind of no room for error, I'm expecting them to chase down the possession, like I said, and potentially they could lose it and possibly commit some silly fouls, trying to get that ball back. But with a referee like Rapellini, they're not going to go unpunished for things like that. So for me, I like the value of Ukraine over 1.5 team cards at 1.98 or minus 102 on Unibet.
Thanks for that, George. I like that insight and that focus on cards. To be honest, it's not a market I normally look at. I'm all about the results and the goals. So it's great to have that extra dimension of analysis on the show. And also, specifically looking at the referee, that's a very good way to approach it. I think they play with a lot of intensity, Ukraine. They're a very passionate team. So, I would expect to see a few choppy tackles going in, especially with when the game gets stretched in the second half. Matt, what do you like on this game?
So in this one, I've swerved it really. I've completely passed on it, but I think it does set up pretty well for goals, because when you look at North Macedonia, it's like some of the minnows in this competition, kind of, if you will. They are one of the worst, I think, at being able to sit back and contain. I think that they could get chopped up here a bit by Ukraine. So it's one of those for me where I don't like the line, kind of like what George was mentioning. I don't like the value really on Ukraine. I think that he's pointed out a brilliant angle, really, when you're just diving into that specific referee. I think that was brilliant from George. And yeah, I'm kind of just happy to stay away from this one. I think that, maybe an over 2.25 is kind of where I'd lean, because North Macedonia they just don't have that fight like what we saw with Finland kind of this morning, at least. Like, they sit back and they can contain some decent offenses. And North Macedonia was not able to see that against Austria, even though I am a bit high on Austria, I think, more than the market is kind of alluding to. But yeah, I think that maybe we could see an over 2.25 here. I think the price is around 1.7. That's probably where I would go here if I had to play it.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think this is going to be a win for Ukraine, to be honest. I've gone for Ukraine and over 1.5 goals as my tip, because I just thought they looked really dangerous in that second half. Yarmolenko, they've got very good quality down the flanks. And North Macedonia really did get overrun in that second half against Austria. Wasn't convinced by their defence, wasn't convinced by their goalkeeper either. I think their superior quality should ultimately shine through. As a prop bet, I also quite like the second half to be the highest scoring half. You can get about plus 110 on that. Ukraine really grew into the game in that second half, and Austria totally took tired North Macedonia apart after the break. So I like that one from a prop betting perspective. Interested to know what you guys are going for on the chat. Let us know your picks. Okay, we will move on to the next game. Big game. Denmark versus Belgium. Yeah, bring up the graphic, please, Esteban. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's going to be a really somber occasion, isn't it, between these two teams? They obviously met twice in qualifying. Both were won by Belgium. It was quite comfortable. It was 2-0 last year. Then I think it was 4-2 in the reverse fixture when De Bruyne came back into the team and really orchestrated a fine victory for them. Going to be tough for Denmark. They looked a bit shell-shocked after they came back onto the pitch. Understandably so. What happened to their teammate? It was horrific scenes. It was very emotional. They probably shouldn't have played the second half of that game. Losing to Finland now, they're on the brink of elimination. I don't think things look particularly good for them against the really fired-up Belgium team who are pretty ruthless in chasing down victories. And the odds on the away team here just look really high to me. Matt, what are you going for? What's your take on this game?
So I think it's a tough one, obviously, with the Eriksen absence. I mean, he is their most creative player, so they're missing out on their best player all around. And then when you look at it, Martin, I think you touched on it brilliantly. They were a bit shell-shocked. And can we expect a reaction here in front of their home fans? I think we can. I think that they will compete and be fairly competitive, probably more competitive than the two matches in the Nations League. But, I think it's one of those where Kevin De Bruyne probably comes back into the starting 11 here. And I think that once that happens, that Belgium will go off at odds on. And so I think that I'm more than happy right now to grab Belgium. I got a plus 112 on it, and I'm fine with that. I think that Belgium do have the superior quality, and it's one of those where we are guessing a bit on how Denmark will come out and how they will react to this. Can they get up for this a little bit more and kind of get galvanized by the home support? But I think that Belgium just through and through have more quality. And I think that once De Bruyne gets slotted in here, it's going to be a real problem for Denmark. So for me, I think that they do go off at odds on here. And so I think that we're grabbing a bit of value right now here. And I think that Belgium grab all 3 points and Denmark are going to be in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, I was expecting a really strong tournament from Denmark. They're 10th in the FIFA World Rankings, which is based on their recent results. They've been very hard to play against, and they've got a terrific starting 11. But I just fear that Finland defeat and the situation with Eriksen has kind of knocked the stuffing out of them a little bit. Coming up against a very strong Belgium team that have an excellent record against Denmark and have won in Copenhagen recently. Doesn't look good for them at all. The quality of Lukaku, Dries Mertens, Carrasco, Yuri Tielemans, they've just got so much quality going forward. They're not particularly great in defence, but perhaps it's not even going to really matter because you would expect them to dominate the ball here. And I'm with you. I'm also going for a Belgium win in this game. I think just the straight up money line odds look really good. What do you think, George? What are you going for?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, before the tournament started, these two sides were tipped to, lead the way in this group. But obviously, as you've already alluded to and covered brilliantly, the unfortunate events surrounding Eriksen. Obviously, thankfully, it looks like he's going to be okay, which is just brilliant news. But it's difficult to see how it's going to impact them moving forward. I'm in agreement with you. I didn't think the game should be played. Even if the players said, no, we want to do it for Christian, they weren't in the right mindset to make that decision, in my opinion. And now having lost that game to Finland, it makes their job of qualifying that much harder. But even in that game, they had 22 shots, failed to score, and they lost to a single shot of the game from Finland. It was their only shot, and obviously it cost them dearly. But I think they can kind of look at their form going into this, 2 losses in their last 12 internationals overall, winning 9 of them. So they've still got some hope of reaching the knockouts for the first time since 2004 as well. But I think prior to Finland, the last time Denmark lost was to Belgium by a 4-2 scoreline in the Nations League, as you said. And Belgium are actually the only side to have beaten Denmark since September 2018. That was 15 games ago. So it does seem that Belgium has Denmark's number anyway. Now, you take out the most influential, creative player, like Matt said, in Eriksen, out of that Denmark side, it makes the game so much harder. So I was a bit perplexed as to why Belgium were at the odds that they were at. if I'm being truly honest. They've scored at least 2 goals in their last 11 matches in the European Championships, and in the European Championships they've been winning at both half-time and full-time in their last 11 as well. And they've got an absolute embarrassment of attacking talent, and they like Romelu Lukaku, for example. I'm on him to be top goal scorer, and he got off to an absolutely flying start. I mean, that brace against Russia means he's now got 22 international goals in 19 matches since the 2018 World Cup. But yeah, there's also been over 2.5 goals scored in 8 of Belgium's last 9 Euro games too. So, but looking at the team news for them, Jan Vertonghen, he took a knock to his ankle against Russia, so he'll need an assessment, which means Vermaelen might come in. And in my opinion, Vermaelen is not the player that he was, so that makes that Belgian back line look a little bit weaker. And Castagna, he's been ruled out of Euro 2020 as well because he suffered a double fracture in his eye socket against Russia, so that was quite nasty. But yeah, De Bruyne, he could return to the matchday squad. I mean, I don't know if he'll be risked from the start or not, but if he does, I think it's curtains for Denmark, in my opinion. I think Belgium just possess far too much quality. And looking at the sort of previous head-to-heads of this one, and this fixture's produced 3.47 goals per game on average across the last 15 meetings. Obviously, that's quite some way back, but if you look at even the most recent fixtures, that Belgium 4-2 scoreline, for example, and with players like De Bruyne, Hazard needing more minutes, I think they'll feature at some point. So I think Belgium score a couple here, and I do like the odds for Belgium just to win, but to get a little bit more juice out of the price, I've put Belgium to win in there to be 2 or more goals in the game. And that's at plus 175 on Unibet, and that's an angle that I really do like. I feel quite bad because I was basing this assumption on the fact that, what are Denmark in terms of their kind of state going to be? Are they still going to be shell shocked? And making a pick based off that almost felt a bit immoral. But I think as we're covering the game, I do think it's the way it's going to be. I think that's the way it's going to turn out. And so yeah, for me, Belgium win, 2 more goals in the game at plus 175 on Unibet.
Yeah, it doesn't quite sit that well with me either, to be honest. Kicking them while they're down a little bit, it feels like. But I think Belgium will be pretty ruthless in terms of going out for a victory, and I guess we have to be pretty ruthless in our bid to turn a profit while betting on the glorious game of football. So I'm also going just for a straight Belgium win, but I do think we can see 2 or more goals in the game. I like that one. I also placed a little prop bet on Lukaku to score. You can get plus 140 at Unibet, which you mentioned. Unibet does seem to be knocking it out of the park with some of the best odds on this tournament. But if you're based on the other side of the pond, Bovada would be a good choice, or perhaps Pinnacle if you don't want so many prop bets. So head on over to sportsbookreview.com for a full rundown of the best sportsbooks in the business. You'll see the likes of Heritage Sports, Bovada, Bet Online, all mentioned in there. But yeah, no, I agree. I'm going for a Belgian win in this game. I think they'll go there, get the job done, and sew up qualification for the knockout stages. I think that defence is a bit of a weak link. Not sure if they'll win the tournament, because when they come up against better teams, I feel like they could expose some of that creaking back line. But not sure if Denmark have got the quality now to pull it off. Okay, next game we have the Netherlands are up against Austria. This should be another interesting game. Both of these teams won their openers. It was a much easier win for Austria. They really rolled North Macedonia over. The Netherlands had to work for it, but credit to them. They kept plugging away. They ended up grabbing that last gasp victory. I don't think they were particularly convincing in their performance, and defensively they looked pretty shocking. I think there's quite a lot of outcry about De Boer's tactics, and the Dutch fans don't seem to be particularly happy with him. But they got the job done. Both of these teams are on 3 points, and whoever wins this is in the next round. So how do you see this one going down, George?
Yeah, I quite like goals in this game. Obviously, with both of these sides' defences not being anything to write home about. But yeah, obviously throwing away that 2-0 lead, it was just, I think it asked a lot of questions. Obviously, they obviously got the win in the end, but I still think it asked a lot of questions. But obviously at the Johan Cruyff Arena, the Netherlands usually do quite well. But that result, the 3-2 win, it meant that each of Netherlands' 4 Euro fixtures previously held in this stadium, teams have been separated by under 1.5 goals. So they do tend to be quite either tight or both teams score a lot of goals. It's never just a resounding victory for Holland. And as well as that, their last 8 wins at Euro finals have seen them score 2+ goals in at least one half. And there's also been over 2.5 goals scored in 11 of their last 12 European Championship games too. So, and looking at kind of a bit of head-to-head, Holland, they've won their... Sorry, we've got to call them Netherlands, haven't we? It's got to be Netherlands. But no, won their 6 matches against Austria in all competitions. And they've seen over 2.5 goals in their last 3 home matches against Austria in all competitions. Looking at the team news, I mean, for me, as a stand-up player I watched a lot last season, Wout Weghorst, obviously vindicated his selection against Ukraine with a goal. And so I'd imagine he'll continue to... What was that?
He's a big guy, isn't he?
He's huge.
Pocket man, big focal point up front for them. It's kind of what they need.
But he's technically brilliant as well. He's a very exciting player to watch. And so I'm expecting him to lead that Dutch line with Memphis Depay. And we spoke previously about De Ligt. He wasn't even in the matchday squad. Obviously, he's continuing to work his way back from injury. So Ake and Veltman are obviously options as well. But looking at Austria, I think their expectation of a loss here is underlined by their 5-game form against teams currently ranked better than them in the FIFA rankings. They've drawn 1 and lost 4. So they don't tend to do quite well against those above them. But I was looking at, the angle I was looking at is second half goals. So Austria, there's been a total of 11 second half goals in Austria's last 6 games overall. And I think they're going to play quite defensive here. I think they will try and do a smash and grab, if you like. So, for example, David Alaba, he started at centre-back for Austria on Sunday. So that was a bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people were expecting him to line up either on the wing or in the centre of midfield to kind of dictate play. But yeah, just looking at this one, Netherlands' last 8 wins at Euro finals have seen them score 2 or more goals in at least one half. And at the moment, in the 13 games played so far in Euro 2020, there's been just 8 first half goals compared to 21 second half goals. Things tend to be quite tight in that first half with things opening up in the second. And for me, I think there is quite a bit of value. Just got to have a look on the price here, actually, because I've not updated it on my sheet. Obviously, Esteban's got it on there. But I think it was minus 120, I think I had a look at, for over 1.5 second half goals in this game between the Netherlands and Austria. I thought it was a great shout. I think it might be quite tight early on. But with the attacking talent on show and sort of the state of these defences, I don't see them keeping it tight for long. And I think that second half, when teams tire, I think that's where we're going to see the most of these goals. So yeah, for over 1.5 second half goals at that price, I thought was a great bet.
Like it, yeah. Thanks, George. Yeah, apparently Holland only refers to 2 of the provinces within the Netherlands. Apparently they're the 2 largest provinces, in Amsterdam, but the overall country has to be the Netherlands. But yeah, we all grew up calling them Holland, didn't we? So it was a bit of an adjustment. But yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat. Again, I'm loving the energy. All the favourite guys are in the chat. But Poker Factory TV saying good day from Australia, and he stayed up till 2 a.m. to watch. So good day there. And Trevor's in Canada. So we've got people all over the world watching on as we wax lyrical about these big games. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting open game. I see both teams scoring in this one. What do you reckon, Matt? What are you going for?
Yes, I mean, so it's obviously a humongous fixture for both teams because really if Austria, I think they're going to be looking to grab a point here because I think a point sees them through to the knockout stages. To grab 4 points after their first 2 matches would be huge. And I'm really high on this team. I think when you look at them back to front, they have a lot more quality than I just think that the market is kind of alluding to personally. I mean, when you have a player like Alaba that just can sit back there and not have to play in midfield. Now they're playing him in defense. I think that shows that they've got a little bit more quality in the middle of the park where they don't have to risk him there and he can play in his best and I'd say it's his best position, but he's played all over really. So I just think that Austria really have what it takes here to frustrate the Netherlands. I think that when you look at these squads head to head, I think that there's not a ton separating them. I really don't. I think that grabbing, maybe even having a little sprinkle here. This is one of those where I think that, at 5, 5.5, 6 to 1, it's a little bit too big for me. I would have this more around like 4 or 3.5 to 1 personally. So I know that it is an away match and they've had to travel a bit, but it's not like they're coming back from like Baku or something. It's not a lengthy travel spot. So I do fancy the Austrians here, and I think that they have what it takes. When you have a player like Arnautovic, who has lit up the Premier League in the past, coming off the bench and switching off with a Kolasinac, or it's not Kolasinac, but
so Arnautovic has been banned for the next couple of games.
What happened?
Because I believe he insulted one of the North Macedonia players. Obviously, it's alleged. Brilliant. It's alleged at the moment, but they've opted to ban him for a couple of games, I believe.
Well, that's brilliant. But he is coming off the bench too.
That's not much of a birthday present for Matt Lawrence, is it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have brought something better.
That hurts a little bit. But actually, this is kind of what I was getting at, though, too, is that Kolasinac, the striker there, I'm a big fan of him. I mean, he had a brilliant second half in the Bundesliga, and I'm more than fine with him playing the full 90 minutes. He got about 65, I believe, in the first leg, so he's going to be more than rested and ready to go here. I just don't trust the Dutch defense, obviously, with the absence of Virgil van Dijk, who's been, that's been well known for quite some time. But I don't know. I think that these teams are very even. And I think that both teams scoring, I think that that's a good play, and getting Austria onside on a handicap where the Dutch have not won too many matches by a margin. So I think that getting that +1 is more than fair. So those are going to be my two bets for this match. And I'm just hoping that, it's not kind of not 0-0 for a while and then they just kind of play for a point here. So I'm hoping that we see some really good attacking talent here in the first half and just kind of bring this match to life a bit. But I think that Austria have more than what's capable. And I'd say my best bet for this one would be them +1.
Oh, interesting. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, he was really going off it against Alioski, wasn't he? He was really fired up and really shouting after he scored that goal. He looked very intense.
It's always like.
Yeah, he is. I remember he played Arsenal once and he threw Debuchy into the stands. Debuchy was out for There's totally no reason for it. He's a fiery character, but he's very, very talented. I think he will be a big miss for this Austria team. I was surprised to see him on the bench, but they do have some decent talent up front. And I still think they can get on the score sheet in this game. The Dutch just look so disorganised at the back. On the UK TV, Gary Neville and Roy Keane were highly, highly critical of this Dutch team. They said they got no chance of going anywhere in this tournament. I mean, obviously Van Dijk being out is a huge blow, but they seem like they need a lot more work organising them at the back. They looked okay until he decided randomly to take off Blind in that second half, and then it all started falling apart for them. I think Austria can still get on the score sheet in this one. I've gone for both teams to score as well. I like that one. On that note, Esteban, could you please give us the picks? I'll read them out. Okay, starting off, as mentioned, George is going for Ukraine to just have over 1.5 goal cards at -102 in that game. He's delivered a very strong reason why he's going for that bet, and it looks like a great price. He's got Belgium and over 1.5 goals. Odds just keep going up on that one, so grab that or wait till even closer to the game if you like the look of that one. He's got over 1.5 goals in the second half of the Netherlands versus Austria game, expecting that to really open up after the break. Matt's just going for both teams to score in the Netherlands versus Austria game, and he's also going for Austria +1 at odds of -105. That's even without Marko Arnautovic. And he's got Belgium at +112, just a straight win. I'm going for Ukraine to win and over 1.5 goals at odds of +105. Think they get the job done there. I've got Belgium at +112 again, copy and paste from Matt. And I'm just going for both teams to score in that Netherlands versus Austria game. Think it'll be an open, entertaining clash. Thank you very much, Esteban, and thank you all guys for all your comments on the chat. Let's all wish Matt a happy birthday. Hope it's going to be a good one full of lots of winners. Just before I leave you, please do hit that like button. Show some love to George. So show some love to Matt on his birthday. That's the best birthday present you could get him. Liking this video. Also, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Thank you very much. We'll be back at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. But until then, goodbye, good luck, Enjoy.